Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Small Business Symposium of Cuyahoga County and Tri-C. I'm going to present to you Cuyahoga County Executive Edward Fitzgerald.
Good morning. Thank you for coming. I'm going to be very brief, but I'm just going to start this off. This is the first really event of its kind. It's a small business symposium for small business enterprises, and it's not just a function of Cuyahoga County government, although this is new for us, but we've also partnered with some of our public sector partners who you're going to hear from. Now, this is something that we're doing, and again, it's the first time that we've done something of this nature, but it's consistent with the way we're trying to run the county. There's a lot of things that we're coming out of as we come out of the old system of the county and the way that business used to be done, and we're trying to move into a different era. One of the things we're trying to do is we're trying to establish very strict ethical standards, which we now have the strictest ethical code of any county in Ohio. We also have an independent enforcement mechanism for those ethical rules. But we also have, that also includes vendor ethics and expectations for vendors. So all of that is important. But then there's another aspect to some of the dysfunction that used to happen in the county, and that was that there was a sense and there was a reality, I think, that to do business in the county sometimes you had to, that it was kind of a closed system. That it was a club that you had to be a member of, and you had to know the right person, or you had to be related to the right person, and we've got to change that. We're committed to doing that. When the county, and I think I can speak for all the other public agencies you're going to hear from, but when the county is going to do business with people in the present day now and on a going forward basis, it's going to be because that vendor is providing the best service for the best price, period. And that's my promise to you and my invitation to you. And so sometimes there's the perception, I don't expect it to go away overnight, because the old way of doing things was very ingrained. And there's a lot of people that are very skeptical about it and very cynical about it. But I can assure you that any of you that want to participate with us as vendors, we want to participate with you. And whether I know you or not, I don't know most of you, and I know I'm not related to any of you, and that's fine. And I want to just let you know that even times when we're approving contracts internally, when no one is really necessarily watching us, we are constantly saying, how do we make sure that our process is open and competitive? Let me just give you an example of what I'm talking about with that. So, for instance, when I first took office at the beginning of the year, and keep in mind you have a county system now that combines all the administrative functions of the sheriff's office, engineer's office, treasurer's office, recorder's office, clerk's office. I'm skipping a couple, plus all of the commissioners, and that's all combined administratively under my office. So it's a lot of contracts. It's hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of contracts. Well, there were a lot of contracts that, especially when I first got into office, we could have given those contracts out on a non-competitive basis. Either because we could have just renewed an existing contract, maybe we had an option to renew the contract, or because it fit one of the exceptions to even bidding something out. And there's several of them, as you probably know. So something could have been classified as a sole source, or something could have been listed as being on state contract, or something could have been listed as a professional service that I didn't have to bid out. And as anybody can tell you, whether it's the county council people that are here, because we're doing this in partnership with our Cuyahoga County Council as well, our default position is always to try to bid something out, always. So many times, and again, there was nobody watching, there were no cameras, there were no reporters, but Somebody say, look, can we just extend this contract? We've known this contractor for a long time. Let's just keep doing business with them. No, if there's any possible way to bid it out and try to open it up, let's do it. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you liked it. That doesn't mean you're going to get a contract, but thank you for the applause. No, I appreciate it. I know she spoke for all of you, even though you didn't all clap. But there are other ways we're trying to do that too, because we still have a ways to go. It's a journey. We're not done with it yet. Let me give you another specific example. So the other day, we had a contract for about $500,000 with certain products. I won't get into what the exact contract was, but we had put out a big bid package for it, and we'd gotten, I want to say, about 12 people that had at least, or 12 companies that had asked for bid packages. And then it had been awarded, and I said, well, why did this? I noticed that this company is a large corporation that ended up winning the bid. Why did they win the bid? Well, it turned out that they were the only ones that actually ended up bidding. And I said, you know, there has to be a story behind this. Why were 12 bid packages taken out but only one bid was returned? Is there something about the way we're asking for the service? Are we combining too many services together that make it inaccessible to a small business enterprise? And so we rejected the bid, and we sent it back up, and I directed our Office of Procurement and Diversity to split up the bid. So I just want you to know that this is something that we really believe in it. We really believe in it. And if you hear that, oh, that things haven't changed, it's the same system, it's wrong. It's not true. We really are trying to change the way that we're doing things. Now, we are starting to see that things are starting to change. So just to give you a little bit of data on it, this small business enterprise program we've had since about the year 2000. Last year, we had about 433 certified companies. This year, just as I stand here today, we're up to 562. Now, here's the other reason that I believe in this so much is that those are small businesses where when we spend tax dollars, we're confident that the economic benefit of that spend is really getting down into the community where we want it to in the first place. So it means that the profit and the dollars that we're spending are not being shipped out, out of the county and out of the state and out of the country sometimes. Now, does it mean that we never do business with a larger vendor? No, because we're also under a tremendous amount of fiscal pressure, and if it doesn't work to go with a local business, then we won't do it. I mean, we still have to have a competitive process, but we can have a fair process. Now, why else is it important to do? Well, because when you talk about equity issues and who is being included, we know that the smaller business enterprises, we have a better chance of being more inclusive and more diverse in terms of who actually gets an opportunity to do business. And I think that if we do it right, we will ultimately save money, we'll create jobs, and we'll create more of a fair and just system in terms of how we do our contracting. Now, in the last 3 years, we've given out about 10% roughly of our contracts to those entities that are classified as SBEs. We have an informal goal to increase that. So we're going to try to increase that number each and every year. And we're gonna measure ourselves, and we're going to report back to you about how we're doing. So each year we'll come back and we'll say, well, here's here's how much we've grown in terms of our SBE participation. Now, why is it so important that we have these other partners here? Because we're only one piece of the pie. We have a $1.3 billion budget, and as I said, we give out hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts, but there's plenty of other entities, from the sewer district to CMHA and many others, City of Cleveland, and there are certain things that we all have in common, and we certainly do share a lot of the same goals. So we thought that it made sense to bring you here together and just be as open as possible about the process. One thing that I would, before I stop talking, then the panel's gonna come up here and I'm gonna run off to my next event. First of all, I thank you for coming. Thank you for at least giving us the benefit of the doubt that you're believing that we want to engage with you about how this process is going to work. This is the first year we've done this. The response was overwhelming. So I think we're going to go from 500 and some qualified SBEs, and I'm sure by next year we'll be well over 600 because there's a lot of people that are new to the county process. We want to be open, but it's still a work in progress. So if you see things that we could do differently or information that we should provide differently, we will be all ears. Just like a business has to be flexible and they have to be open to their customers, you have to be open to your customers about what they expect. You're our customers. So if there's a way that we can perform better, I hope you give us some credit for trying to do this year. But there's always room for improvement, and if there's ways for us to do this even better or more frequently, please let us know, and we'll try to be at your service. I hope you find this session helpful, and thanks for listening to me this morning. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Now, I notice we have a lot of people in the back of the room. I know you'll find it hard to believe, but we have about 12, 15 seats up here at these 3 tables. I want you to come up and sit down because we've got a good panel today. We want you to be able to take notes. There's going to be a lot of good information. I'm Susan Muha, the Executive Vice President of Tri-C. And this is one of the areas, this corporate college is one of the areas where that are under my direction. So I'm very delighted to have you out here, and we're delighted to be a co-sponsor of this event. Procurement's very important to us as a college. You'll hear our representative, Cynthia, when she's on the panel, talk about the kinds of things we're looking for and what we're doing. And I'm delighted with the processes we now have and have had over the last few years to make things much easier than it was, say, 5 and 10 years ago. So that's a good thing. Now, another thing I want to mention, how many of you are here for the first time? Would you raise your hand? Wow. It tells me the job we need to do as a community college to have you using this facility more and getting it out into the community, because this is one of the finest training and conference centers in Northeast Ohio. And so we're delighted you're here today, and we're putting a new pricing structure together for this facility. So we hope you come back and join us and come to many other events. Little housekeeping, most of you may or may not know, across the lobby, the restrooms are directly across the lobby. Also at the front desk, a gentleman named Tom O'Conowitz is here. If you need anything while you're here this morning, please be sure and see him. We have a table out front as the college, and we have a lot of neat things for you to pick up in terms of training materials and some of the things we're doing in green. So please take a minute and on your way out, pick that material up. In the interest of time and wanting to be sure that we get our next person up, I'm going to introduce our next speaker, who we're so delighted to have here today. May I ask Mayor Clinton Hall to please come up.
Good morning. Good morning. On behalf of the administration, City Council, and the residents of the City of Warrensville Heights, I would like to thank Ed Fitzgerald and the Cuyahoga County Council for hosting this event, and welcome you to the City of Warrensville Heights. If this is your first time or second time visiting with us, remember you are always welcome here. We are known as the Friendly City. How many first-time visitors do we have? Okay, we have a new shopping complex right down the street you may want to stop at on your way out. It's called Harvard Park. But remember, you're always welcome here. Come back and visit with us again. Thank you.
Now we're going to have our panelists pass up here. First, we're going to have CMHA is going to be presenting. This is Mr. Ed Oliveras. He's the purchasing manager for CMHA.
Good morning, everyone. Like Ms. Mercado said, my name is Ed Oliveras. I'm the purchasing manager over at CMHA. Been with CMHA for a little under 2 years now. So many of you in the room don't know me, and I don't know you, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I say that because I want to make sure that when I sit down with people, we have the conversation that I like to refer to as straight talk. How to do business with CMHA. And I call that straight talk because I think that as responsible organizations, we need to have processes in place that are very transparent. And one of the things at CMHA that we love is economic development. And I think that through the process today and through the conversations that we're going to have with our inclusion team that's here and led by Mr. Donovan Duncan, our administrator of real estate and development, is that talk about how do we do business and how do we reach some of the goals that CMHA has in order to create economic development in the city of Cleveland, a city that I really love, a city that I know needs work, and also we love to include our residents and make sure that the economic development that we create stays here locally in the city of Cleveland and its surrounding areas. So number one, if you want to do business with CMHA, I suggest that you go to our website, cmha.net, and you can sign yourself up. You don't know how many calls I get of people who tell me, I want to do business with CMHA. Well, we're a governmental agency. We don't award business. You win it based on your own merit through your bids and making sure that your bids are responsive and responsible, right? So there is really no set aside. You get it on your own merit. So again, cmha.net, you have a procurement tab there. You go up and you can sign yourself up. And what does that do? Well, first of all, every solicitation that we do for construction over $25,000, we put that in the newspaper. We do ads in the Call-in Post and the Plain Dealer on our website. But if you sign up, you will know about that opportunity before the general public does. An email goes out on every solicitation to our database, and you know about that. Well, maybe it's not something that's in your wheelhouse, but maybe it's something that you know, or you have a small business partner, or you have a joint venture, and then you can tell them about it. One of the things and one of the goals that we have as a procurement department over at CMHA is that we want to do business with people who look like our residents. So that's minority business development. That's female business development. That's Section 3 opportunities. That's opportunities for the residents of our complexes in our agency. So again, economic development, and that's how we strive, and that's how we help out our own city of Cleveland and our surrounding areas. So we're going to be in room 124. We're going to have members of our inclusion department there, Mr. George Coulter, Ms. Robin Holmes, Mr. Donovan Duncan, and we can sit down and have that chat on how to do business with CMHA, and we can have the opportunity also to get certified by us or by one of our partners in the city. So thank you so much. I do appreciate the invitation. On behalf of our CEO, Mr. Jeffrey Patterson, we want to thank the executive, Mr. Edward Fitzgerald, and his team for the invitation, and we look forward to talking to you guys in room 124 after the panel discussion. Thank you.
I will now present Mr. Jim Hardy. Jim Hardy represents the city of Cleveland.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jim Hardy from the city of Cleveland, and I'd like to welcome everybody here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? On behalf of the Honorable Frank Jackson, who is a strong supporter of inclusion, and certainly is a strong supporter of the city's effort in running our procurement organization. openly, transparently. As you heard Mr. Fitzgerald say, we've been doing this for years. We strive very hard to be fair, to be open, transparent, and inclusive in our purchasing processes. And what I have for you this morning is a little bit of a, what you might call procurement public sector 101. I'm not going to get to do all of it because it could take an hour or so to give the full thing. But what I want to do is give you some idea of why you might want to do business with the City of Cleveland, how you would learn to do business with the City of Cleveland, what are the benefits, but even more than that, you know, what are some of the pitfalls? And I hope it's sort of a case study, since we were here in an educational institution. You'll see from what I present to you kind of how the city does things and why, and I think you'll see some concepts that spill over into all the rest of these organizations here. We've got a lot of fine public sector organizations here. We're all doing the same thing, but in my years of purchasing, I've discovered that many people get confused because it doesn't look to them like we're doing the same thing. And of course, when you get confused, you begin to become suspicious. And there have been a lot of things that have gone on in Cuyahoga County that should not have. There's a tremendous effort being made by public officials everywhere to clean that up, to make sure it doesn't happen, and to make sure that we're doing things rightly. So if I can give you a few of those concepts as to why we're doing what we're doing, why the public sector is different than the private sector, what you can get from doing business in the public sector, and frankly, what you can't get from it. And then it actually points you to where you can find those opportunities from the City of Cleveland. I think I'll have accomplished it. At some point, they'll probably give me the rope because I'll be talking too long, but I'll try to get through it as quickly as I can. And if you notice from the slide, obviously the city seal is very large, but you look at the clock and the paper and you wonder what this is about. It's about how to do business with the City of Cleveland, or why all the paper, okay? Objectives, as I said, why would you want to do business with the city? Why is the public sector different? How do we level the playing field? And that's something you've heard mentioned a couple times already this morning. How would you get started bidding with the City of Cleveland? Should I or could I or would I be a subcontractor? Why would I want to do that? I run my own business. And then again, how can I avoid some common mistakes? Well, here's the answer to the first question, the bottom line. In an average year, now thanks to the economic situation we're in, these numbers may be somewhat lower today, but the City of Cleveland spends almost $300 million in one way or another for goods and services. Some of them are very small orders. You'll see that we might order about over 1,000 times a year. We buy something that's less than $1,000. Under 10,000, we may have 3,000 procurements. A procurement means we're going to buy something. When you get over 10,000, there's about 365 of them. This is what's your general goods and services. Then we're going to add to that large contracts, which we call requirements contracts. For example, copier services for the city for a year. What we call public improvements, that's our term for a construction contract. You'll see we've got $200 million in them. And then standard contracts are like everything else. Throw it together. It might be computers, it might be software, it might be this, that, or the other. So you see that down at the bottom, we've got over 3,000 opportunities a year for you to sell something to us. And it's going to total almost $300,000. Now, except for those of you who got into business either to lose money or because, as a charity, you want some business. Well, here's the business that's available. What we're doing with those contracts is managing a very complicated operation. We got 1,300 miles worth of roads, 2,600 miles worth of sidewalks if you put them on both sides, 200 plus buildings that the city takes care of, 500 some bridges. You hear Pittsburgh, other people say they're the city of bridges. Cleveland's got bridges. We've got airports, okay? We've got a large one and a small one by the lake. We have public utilities. We have an electric company, water company, and we have the sewer system until it connects to Jackie's Northeastern Ohio Sewer District, but we have the local sewers. That's all got to be taken care of. It's got to be managed. The people who run it need various services, support services. It's a big thing to be taken care of, and that's why the budget is like that. There's opportunities virtually everywhere. There's probably not something you can name that we don't buy in a given year. Okay, there's all kinds of stuff. Okay, but how to find out about that, we'll get to a little bit later. You know, what about me? What about what I'm selling? So, okay. But we're not free to take care of all that just any way we want to. We can't just decide to give a contract to somebody. You've heard that already this morning. So what I want to give you here is just a little bit of the concept of why it is that way. Before I can send out a bid, or before I can give you a contract, you really have to be three legs in place. It's kind of like one of those old milking stools if you see in a barn. First of all, there has to be an ordinance authority. I can't buy anything unless an ordinance is in place authorizing me to do that. It's not legal, it's public money. The second one is certification of funds, and again, it's public money. I'm a citizen of Cleveland, it's my money as a citizen, but as on the job, I'm the steward of that money. What's significant about that certification of funds is it's a difference between private and public. You get a private contract, you don't know whether the money's there or not. You get a public contract from the city of Cleveland, by law, those funds have been reserved only for the purpose of paying you for the goods and services. You hear all the time, it takes too long to get, City of Cleveland takes forever. I'll tell you a secret, here's one of those first what to do right and what to do wrongs. If everything's done properly, paperwork's right, you've done a good job, there's no dispute, the city of Cleveland pays in an average of 30 days. These days, a lot of private people don't do that. But I will caution you, if there is a problem, it will take longer, so you need to be prepared for that. Why is that? Because we have to spend a lot of time carefully investigating problems. It will delay, and I'm not going to lie to you about it, but you can know one thing for sure. If you do the job, you'll get paid for it. That's a level of security you don't necessarily see with your private clients, okay? Now, the third one, public sealed bids, you've heard about already. Whenever you do business in the public sector, it's a competition. It's mandated by law. And again, that means you can't count necessarily on an extension. You may have to earn that contract again and again and again. But that's the balance we make. If we're going to give everybody that's qualified to sell to us the opportunity to compete, we have to furnish the competitions. And we try very hard not to ever lock anybody out of a competition. Why is Cleveland different? And here's something, if you come away with one thing today, I want you to come away with understanding that public agencies are the same, but they're also very different. You've got to get to know your customer. And it's different than getting to know a private customer. We're not talking about taking us to lunch. We're not talking about all kinds of stuff. Our ethics code is, as you heard what Mr. Fitzgerald said, our ethics codes are the toughest in the nation. And Cleveland's was tough even before the county moved to toughen theirs. We're tougher than the Ohio ethics laws make us be. Some people don't understand that, but that's how we protect what we're doing here. Private businesses usually do business under the Uniform Commercial Code, right? And the federal government uses federal procurement regulations. Anybody ever seen FARs? Have you ever seen the whole entire document? It's huge. I'm sure there's one on file in the Tri-C library. The state of Ohio uses the Ohio Revised Code, okay? And most public agencies in Ohio are subject to that. The city of Cleveland is different. Now, those of you, how many people went to school, public school in the state of Ohio? How many of you got a civics class? Uh-oh, they should have done better than that. Historically speaking, the city of Cleveland is what's called a charter city. That means that way back in 1908, about the time I was born, the state granted the city the right to an independent charter. And because it's that charter and ordinances that we're doing, that's the law that we have to, our laws will be different than somebody else's, okay? I'm just showing you, if you want to see it, go to our website and look at them. It's all there. This is why we do business the way we do business, okay? We have programs. We do our own certifications. Our OEO office is here just outside the door. They're different than other people's, so you're going to need to get to know us and our certifications. Fortunately, write this down. The easiest way to get to know all about us is on the first Tuesday of a month. Come to room 128 City Hall, okay? between 9:30 and 12, and we have an open house. We don't do milk and cookies, but our staff is available. You can meet buyers without an appointment. We talk you through exactly how to do everything. Also, anybody who wants, please give me your business card. What I'm going to do is mail you this, just mail you the handouts from this. In there is telephone numbers, addresses, where is our website, all that kind of stuff, so you can really connect with us and find out how to do it. Please do make it a point to get to know the city of Cleveland and to see what opportunities are available. They're all available at our website. So thank you. I just got gonged, so I'm going to stop now.
You're sweet. You're sweet. Thank you. Yes, want to thank Jim Hardy. Now we're going to present from Cuyahoga County Community College, President C.L.N. Connolly, Judge, really, please. Judge Connolly. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and I would love to be president of Cuyahoga Community College. However, I am president of the Cuyahoga County Council, and I have with me this morning Julian Rogers, one of the 11 persons who you, as citizens of Cuyahoga County, have elected us to serve as the legislative branch of the new county government. As I said, it's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. And as you know, the heart of the charter and one of the major elements of the charter is economic development. And we know that small business is at the very heart of economic development because it's your companies and the employees that you employ that drive the engine for the economy of the county. So it's a pleasure to be here with you and welcome all of you and see if we can attempt to aid you in expanding your businesses and employing more people to keep our economy going. So I'm going to also have Julian say a couple words for you.
Sure. Thank you, Madam President. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. And like our president said, the small business is the engine that drives our economy here. And not only that, we've been working a lot as a new council and new county government on inclusion. And we found that in order to be more inclusive, we have to do more to make sure that we improve access to small businesses. So we're happy that you're here participating in this. We hope it's very fruitful for you as far as the information that's being provided. And we're looking for a new day in Cuyahoga County where our small businesses can grow and continue the good work that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you for having us this morning.
Okay. Thank you to our council president. Now we're going to present Cuyahoga Community College, Linda Letson. Cindy Letson. Sorry.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Cindy Lietzen. I am the Executive Director of Supplier Managed Services at Cuyahoga Community College. I came to Cleveland, almost 20 years ago, not born and raised in this area, and my husband and I fell in love with this area, and we've been here ever since. And I worked for, probably close to 16, 17 years in manufacturing businesses, and then I spent the last 8 in the sector. I worked at the clinic, and I've been with Tri-C now for about 1.5 years. Always purchasing. In my groups, we have actually procurement, we have accounts payable, and I also have asset management. So really the full procure-to-pay process, from procuring it, sourcing it, buying it, to paying it, and then at some stage later on, surplusing it, reusing it, and selling off the asset. So that's what attracted me to the way the strategic team and the EVPs at Tri-C had sort of organized the group, that you can sort of have that full cycle. We have many, many small businesses and diverse businesses working with us, and we look forward to, as well, and what people have been saying this morning, to growing that, increasing our numbers, and continuing to reach out to people and have them contact us. The information I brought today is, it's a good overview of just basically how to get in and at least get registered and contact us for further information. So you can go into our website, you can go into the tric.edu, and then when you click onto that website, you go all the way to the bottom of the page on the right-hand side, and there is a little button for clicking on administrative departments. And then once you do that, there's a list of several departments, and Supplier Managed Services will be the department you want to click on. And then from there, you're in the external supplier website and portal. From there, you'll see there's a page going through and explaining our missions and our values. Then the next page right after that is talking about current business going on, so opportunities, things that are out for bid. We'll list them on that website. We also list in the Plain Dealer and the Call and Post, so you'll see many of that there. But we'll list the opportunities. We'll show you the timelines. You can usually click and get more detail. And if for any reason the website isn't working properly, you can always contact one of our buyers or myself directly, and we will gladly get you that information. That we keep it updated periodically on who gets awarded the business. There's a supplier information page, and it goes through how to make appointments. We do take appointments, delivery hours, gives a little information on campuses, accounts payable. All invoices come into accounts payable, and it provides that information. That's a very important point for us, is having all those invoices centralized and coming into the district office to a centralized area. It gives you an opportunity to look into invoicing and getting paid electronically. We are paying well over 60% of all of our suppliers we're paying electronically. And we find that certainly helps from an overall cash flow standpoint. And one of the big things in there is it mentions purchase orders and the Ohio Revised Code that we were just talking about today. Very important for us that that all of our suppliers that we do business with has a purchase order prior to doing business. Very important prior to invoicing that we have that purchase order, and that our teams are working closely with you right when you're getting in the door and you're set up for success. One other link that's in there is a link to the terms and conditions, which is basically on the back of our purchase orders and in many of our contracts. So that's also a link you can go in and look in further detail and see all that information. There is all of our buyers, myself, our email addresses, every one of our buyers, our accounts payable folks, everyone's listed in there with their phone numbers and their emails. And certainly today I will be staying, and I have a table, I believe, in this room once we have the breakout groups, and I have a stack of business cards. I would love to have people come up and spend more time talking. And really, when in doubt, you can register on our website. You can, the last page is a supplier request submission form. So you can submit your information to us, but also you can always send it to us directly, the buyers or myself directly. And you can mail us information. We do talk about different ways to do business. So we do requests for information. We definitely do requests for quotes, requests for proposals, and for works of improvement over $50,000, we do the sealed bid process. So all of that is going on. We're obviously many campuses, very diverse in what we buy, the goods, the services, with all the different curricula and the different departments in the academic world. It's quite a diverse spend, and we're growing as you can see, and we're very proud of that growth. And we just, you know, given that Cuyahoga County is in our name, we want to continue to grow our suppliers in this area. And we've been very successful having that relationship, and certainly look forward to continuing that. And that is all. Thank you. I look forward to meeting you later today.
I want to mention that all these slides, plus the bios of each and every one of our panelists, are in the CD that you have in your package. So you'll have all that information plus a lot more. All the applications are also in there. So we hope you're able to take advantage of all this information. Right now, I have the pleasure of presenting also Jackie Williams. She's from the Sewer District, the Northeast Ohio Sewer, Regional Sewer District.
Thank you. My name is Jackie Williams. I've worked for the Sewer District for 5 years now, and I've seen a lot of changes in the short period of time that I've been working for the district. I'm going to try to make it through this presentation. Seems like the 15 minutes is really going fast, so I'm going to try to hit it, and so I'll get started. Again, we're governed by Ohio Revised Code 61-1910. Our construction bids are competitively bid. We do advertise in the newspaper, and we also advertise on our website. And we follow the same laws for our professional design services requirements, which means that we have to have some type of criteria to award the professional services. That's already built into the professional service proposal, and when you're responding to our request, we would expect that you meet all of those requirements to be considered for awardment of that bid or the proposal. You can go to our website to register yourself. It's a very simple website. Probably takes about, I would say 20 minutes if you have all the information at hand to get registered. You fill in, we ask you a couple statistical questions, and then if you would like to go on to become certified in our small business, or excuse me, our business opportunity program. It was a small business program. It just turned into a business opportunity program because we've now been allowed to add MBE and WBE goals on our projects. So that's a recent change that we've had as a result of our disparity study. But back to the vendor registration page, it's very simple. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes to register. And if you have any problems, you can call us as well. There's a contact us button. You know how sometimes you go to the website and you can never find a phone number to get assistance. We do have contact us on the bottom, and we will actually call you back or answer your phone call in the first place. So that's good news. Our procurement practices. For opportunities less than $25,000, we go out for quote. We are in the process of trying to get the limit raised for our steel bid to $50,000, but currently it's at $25,000. But what we do is go to our small business directory first. So if you're registered, this is why you would like to register as a vendor and also become certified with the district, is because we look also to stay local in our procurement opportunities. And so if you are a part of our registration, our registered directory, it's more likely that we're going to call on you for a bid opportunity or a quote opportunity as well as a bid opportunity. For seal bids of over $25,000, again, you can find those on our website, and we also check our vendor registration and our SBE directory before we go out to bid. We will send you an email up front to let you know that the opportunity is coming. And in some cases where we're trying to understand why we're getting one bidder, we will ask you for your feedback, ask why are you not participating in bids, and see if there's something that we have in our bids that's stopping you or making you not want to participate in our opportunities. Recently, we found that with our chemical bids and some of our other bids for operations, we found that the bid bind, the performance bind, was an issue. So it was Julius Chach, our executive director, that decided that why don't we just remove it? And so as of, we sent out a letter early August saying that bid bonds and performance bonds will be removed from all of our non-construction contracts. So this is good news. I believe this is the first in the industry. Thank you very much. I appreciate your claps. And so I believe that this will help get you guys over the hurdle and start to participate in more of our opportunities. Notification of opportunities, again, you can find them on our website for anything over $25,000. Our website gives you a brief description of what the opportunity is about. It tells you who was awarded. It tells you who the bidders are. It tells you what they actually bid. You can find our bids over $25,000 in the call and post and the plain dealer. And again, we direct email you quotes. We direct email you opportunities, especially operations opportunities, because the bid packages are not that very large. So if we know that you're interested, we'll just forward it directly to you. And also, you can receive our quotes via fax. After opportunity award, so this is the best thing for you guys. If you are awarded an opportunity, you get the contract, it comes in the mail, you sign it, you send it back. For the unsuccessful bidders, this is where I really encourage you. You don't have to make an appointment to come into the sewer district to figure out what happened, to what went wrong. You can come right into our office, we'll bring you back, you can look at the bid packages, you can look at quotes, you can look at anything that you want to look at. So we are very open and transparent in the way that we do business, and we like to see you come in. You just come into our back office, our small room, tell us what bid package you're looking for, or tell us what quote that you want to review, and you can see everybody's bid, what they bid. You can ask us to go back and look at stuff from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and we'll be more than happy to get it for you. And so this is the opportunity that I think you guys are really missing out on, is the fact that I don't see you guys in the office. So I would really like to see you all. And that's it for me. Thank you. Good luck to you all.
As Jackie said, all the government agencies have a open public record, so you can get all this information. Now I'm going to present to you the Director of Cuyahoga County Procurement, Lenora Lockett.
Good morning, welcome. I hope you're getting a wealth of information. There'll be opportunities, as was stated previously, to discuss any further questions you have with us or to get more information from some of the other organizations outside this room and also from the certification areas. Cuyahoga County has transitioned from a Board of County Commissioner-led government to a government led by Cuyahoga County Executive Ed Fitzgerald and 11 county council members. As a result of that, there are basically 4 contracting authorities. There's the county executive, the contracts and purchasing board, the county board of control, and then county council. I'll quickly go over the difference between the different agencies, what entities and what contracts they award. As Nancy stated, this information is contained in the CD that you have, so you don't have to worry if I go too quickly or you feel you've missed something. The information is contained in the CD. The Office of Procurement and Diversity, known internally as OPD, is part of the fiscal office and is under the authority of the county executive. The OPD includes the purchasing division, the novice and contracting division, and the small business enterprise division. We're responsible for establishing purchasing policies and procedures, for preparing action items for the 4 contracting authorities listed, and also for administering the Small Business Enterprise Program. For Cuyahoga County, at this point, there are 3 critical registrations that impact procurement. There's the online vendor registration, the link is shown. This is where any business, large, small, out-of-state, in-state, can register on the county so that you can receive automatic notification of business opportunities that meet the services and goods that your company provides. That is a link that once you register, it is you have the password, you can go in and update it based on as your business goods and services expand or contract, you can go in there and update that list to make sure you receive automatic notifications of all formal bid opportunities that the county is having in those areas. Then there's the small business vendor certification that's administered by a small business enterprise program. There are certain requirements as far as annual gross revenues and workforce standards based on the type of business. For instance, if you're in retail, it has an annual gross revenue limit of $6 million. If you're in the construction industry, it has an annual gross revenue limit of $28.5 million. The third registration is under the Inspector General's office. Effective January 1st, 2012, all businesses seeking or doing business with Cuyahoga County must be registered with the Inspector General's office. Currently, you've probably received emails if you're currently registered with the county regarding mandatory vendor ethics training. Those trainings are ongoing. We're providing, along with the Inspector General's office, those trainings as part of the process to complete that registration. As was stated previously, there are 3 competitive procurement methods that mainly the county uses. First, there's the competitive bidding process. This is the sealed bidding process or the informal bidding process. Price is the main determining factor. An award is made to the lowest and best bidder. Then there's the request for proposal process, known as the RFP process. It's typically used for services. As part of this evaluation, an RFP is issued and they detail the quality, qualifications, and price, how that will be evaluated to determine the highest ranked vendor. Awards will be made to the highest ranked vendor from that process. Similarly, there's a request for qualifications process, known as the RFQ process. That is typically used for professional design services, as was previously stated in the regional sewers presentation, that typically follows the Ohio Revised Code section 153.65 process. In that process, vendors that submit are evaluated strictly on qualifications. They are ranked, and then in a prices and the scope of work is negotiated with the highest ranked vendor. There are also standard exceptions to procurement process. As was stated previously by the county executive, we are closely scrutinizing any exceptions to the competitive process. We want an open and transparent process. So typically that's not going to be the default selection. Our goal is to have the previously discussed competitive process be used to choose the vendors for the services and goods that we need. At Cuyahoga County, similar to most of the other government agencies, the type of process that's used is typically based on the expected spend for that procurement. For Cuyahoga County, for purchases less than $500, these are typically for one-time purchases, and the departments can make a direct purchase from the vendor using either the procurement card, known as the P card, which is similar to a credit card, but it's not a credit card, it's a government card that's used for purchasing, or pay invoices off office vouchers. Some of the key points of this process is that usually departments, when they're looking to buy a service, let's say under $400, they're gonna go to, if they don't know, they're gonna go to the vendor listing for the online vendor registration and find out what vendors offers that particular goods or services. One of the pluses of this program is because of the dollar amount, there's no bond requirements. So a good thing to do is to make sure we have the different county departments outside, find out what goods and services they use so that they can be aware of the goods and services you provide, so that when they need to make that purchase and they go to that list, they'll know that there are vendors out there, more than 1, 2, or 3, however many vendors there are that provide that services. So hopefully there's still a competitive process so that they're aware of the opportunities. For purchases between $500 and $25,000, those purchases are generally approved by the Contracts and Purchasing Board. For the range of $500 to $1,000, in most cases, informal competitive bidding is required, or informal RFP or RFQ process, which means that the department must solicit at least 3 quotes or proposals. Again, when they're seeking to find who provides those services, they're going to go to that online vendor registration to see for the services that they're looking for, what vendors have indicated that they provide those goods and services. So again, in that case, being registered online with Cuyahoga County is very important. In addition, the county's purchasing policy requires that at least one of those quotes be solicited from a small business registered with the county. So that's where the second certification comes into place, the Small Business Enterprise Certification process. Because when they look at that list, if there's 10, 12 vendors, and we encourage the departments to get as many as possible, but if they only have time to do 3 or 4 or 5, at least one of those vendors that they have to solicit from must be a small business enterprise certified with Cuyahoga County. Again, typically in this price range, there are no bond requirements. For purchases estimated to exceed $25,000, the formal competitive processes are used. That's a formal competitive bid, a formal RFP, or a formal RFQ. On a contract-by-contract basis, a SBE goal ranging from 0 to 30% is established for that item. Now, there are certain instances when an SBE goal is not applicable. For instance, if we have a federal funded project, then usually there's a DBE goal, so then that supersedes the county's SBE goal, so there wouldn't be an SBE goal for that item. But in general, a goal ranging from 0 to 30%, 30 being the maximum, is established for that contract. The bids are submitted or the proposals are submitted, and they're evaluated first on meeting all the minimum requirements, second on meeting the technical requirements for the entity, again, as specified in the document, and also finally for meeting the SBE requirement for that item. If it is a competitive bid, an award is made to the lowest and best bidder. If it is an RFP or RFQ, award is made to the highest ranked vendor. Depending upon the threshold of the procurement, the different contracting authorities at the county that will approve the contracts are the Contracts and Purchasing Board up to $100,000, the County Board of Control from $100,000 to $500,000, and then County Council for any contracts exceeding $500,000. And again, there are some details, but these are the general requirements. The county ordinances spell out any nuances in those entities that award the contracts. The key points that I would like to highlight about formal competitive bidding is that, again, if you're registered online, you'll receive an automatic notification about that opportunity. If you're an SBE vendor, then the prime vendors need to find someone on that SBE list to partner with in order to meet that third requirement. There is a bonding requirement, but usually that bonding requirement is met by the prime vendor, and that should cover the small business. The fourth point that I would like to make is that we, similar to the other government agencies, will advertise in the paper, newspaper, call-in post, and or on our county website, which is listed there. In addition, the Office of Procurement and Diversity is located on the first floor of the County Administration Building. All of the currently being advertised business opportunities are posted on the bulletin there. So even if you just happen to be in the County Administration Building, stop by and check out the bulletin board and find out if there's a business opportunity that meets your business's goods and services. As I stated, also the website. In addition, one key point that we try to highlight is that typically for our competitive bids and our RFPs, we have a pre-proposal or a pre-bid meeting. That's an opportunity for the county to go over the technical requirements and administrative requirements and SBE requirements of the program. But for you, it's an opportunity to find out what prime vendors in the room at that meeting are contemplating bidding or submitting a proposal for that purchase. That's an opportunity for you to network to them and say, I provide these services, which is a component of the scope of work. My business can do this for this contract. So that's an opportunity, if you attend those meetings, to network with those prime vendors and let them know what services you can provide to them to make their bid successful with the county. We understand that there are certain hurdles to doing business with the county. We are investigating different ideas to try to figure out what we can do to make our procurement process more open and more inclusive. And this is our contact information. Again, it is available on the CD in the PowerPoint, and I will be available in this room with Tri-C as part of the breakout session. And again, thank you for coming.
Okay. If anybody has any questions? Any questions? Terry, over here. And we have Bob over there. Okay.
Good morning, Doc War, small businessman like all these other guys here. For the city of Cleveland, I guess I was a little bit concerned about that process described to get people paid. In a sense, what I mean is the folks have gone through the process of getting all the work done, and then you said if there's a problem, suddenly everything comes to a halt. My question is your team engaged early on to help folks make sure there is no problem? Because from a small business perspective, folks are just working real hard to do the very best they can, and suddenly, if you say, well, if there's a problem, you know, businesses go under real fast when you're in the small business world. So we just want to know, What are you doing to make sure we don't have this problem in advance? We're doing the best we can. Thank you.
First of all, I don't want to blow this out of proportion. That was what I said was spoken actually as just sort of a general rule of thumb about and a cautionary tale. Yes, we are proactive. We do that all the time. We work very hard to get people paid. We recognize, especially small businesses, it's not something that happens every day. We tell them all else fails, you call me or you call the Commissioner of Accounts, and we work it out. I don't want to scare you away. One of the things I'm always concerned about with small businesses, and I think you've heard some of this in the room, is that every public agency is slightly different. We're all trying to do the same things, but we all have slightly different ordinances, slightly different administrative procedures, different certifications. The best thing you can do is study your clients, is get to know how each person does business, because you can get caught up between those things, and that's what we don't want to have happen. But I know that, I guess in the CD is my contact information and all of my buyers, the website, that's all in there. In these days of the virtual marketplace, that contact information is available. My door is always open. I get phone calls all the time. We actively intervene to make sure the payments get done on time. I apologize. I wasn't trying to scare you away. I was simply speaking frankly. One of the things that's important, because we are bureaucracies, let's face it, in the positive sense, not necessarily the negative one, is get the paperwork right. That's all I was really trying to say by that. So.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, panel. One of the concerns I've experienced is when I'm attempting to subcontract with prime contracts, the way that they access the minority and female businesses don't necessarily indicate what it is that we actually do, because oftentimes they're going by the NAICS code, which might give a different twist on what it is that I do. How could that be overcome? Can we more specifically say, for instance, I do curtain walls up to 8 stories and window cleaning. Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, because we also do pressure washing, asked us to snake out a sewer, and I said that's not what it is that we do. I'd like to be able to say more specifically what it is that my company does.
Yes, sir.
I just want to talk about how we do our MBE, FBE, and Section 3 on our website. If you do go to CMHA.net under the Real Estate and Development tab, we have a full listing of all the people that we have certified. And that listing, once you click on it, it actually says who the company is, who the owner is, phone number, contact information. But to the right-hand side, we give a full description of what that contractor actually does. So if you do go to our website, if you are a prime, a general contractor who's looking to partner up, we do have a total description of what that subcontractor is able to do for you. So I hope that everybody's website is like that.
Okay. I understand that that does not apply to all the agencies, because with our department it doesn't happen either. But you would have to talk to the agency where it applies to and talk with them to see if that can be corrected. Okay? We have another question here.
Yes, my question is for the county. On the slide, I saw that the SB requirements on the bidding was 0 to 30%. Is there anything in the process or pending to have a minimum, not of 0, on any of the projects? Because to me, that means that some of the projects, there's no requirement for SBE. And how often does that happen when there's no requirement for an SBE?
Okay. Typically, with the county, with the SBE goal, 0 to 30%, as I stated, if it's federal funds, we're not allowed to set a goal. And when I receive the contract, the scope of work for the contract, I look at the scope of work within the contract, and I also look at who we currently have certified for the county. So for instance, I'll just give an example. Yesterday, I received a bid regarding waste and sludge removal. It was a contract, but in order to do sludge removal or hauling, you have to have certain certifications. And when I looked at our listing for SB vendors, there were only one vendor that provided that service. And I want to set a goal, but if I set a goal, then that means it can be perceived that I'm steering contracts to that one vendor, because the scope of the contract was waste and sludge removal. If there's only one SBE, then there could be the perception that by me setting a goal, I'm guaranteeing that one vendor a goal. So how I would have been able to set a goal was if there were two or three SB vendors in that category that said they provided waste and sludge removal. Then I could have set a goal, because at that point, it is still a competitive process. It's a competitive process on the prime vendor side to try to find a partner, and it's a competitive process on the SB vendor side, because now they have to market their opportunities, and then the government doesn't have the perception of steering contracts to this one vendor. So part of the process is that if the more businesses that we get certified for that say they're small businesses, the more assertive I can be and aggressive I can be about setting a goal and still protect the county's image as not steering a contract to one particular vendor. So those are some of the factors that come into play when I have to decide whether to set a goal.
My name is Lou Acosta with North Coast Minority Media. I'm already certified with the county and working on certain projects there. But you mentioned something about the, when you want to get some information out, the call and post. I mean, that's all well and good. But I mean, trying to get out to everybody throughout the county. For instance, I do North Coast Minority. I'm registered with you guys. I do North Coast Latino, Cleveland Trends, a couple of different publications. I mean, I got the word out about this, but how am I going to be able to do it where you're going to give me some advertising and pay me for it in order for me to do that as a small business?
For advertisement, usually that is, for advertisement, basically, we're trying to promote, as you stated, a broader audience. Usually the type of audiences that we're able to encourage a wide variety of use are usually from our Health and Human Services side, as they can justify the additional expenditure for multiple avenues of advertisements, because they're trying to reach a diverse population as far as adoption services, foster care services, things of that sort. Then the other departments that are more infrastructure-based, they're going to do strictly the legal notice requirement that is posted for a road or bridge. So typically, unless there's extra budgeting, we're working on it, but we really have had a hard time pushing that extra expenditure for roads and bridges. But we can make sure that your company is listed and encourage for the departments to know that that's an opportunity for them. Because sometimes there are businesses that people know word of mouth, and other businesses get overlooked. That's why, as part of our upcoming training, we're going to encourage departments to rely on that online vendor registration. So when they go there and they are looking for media outlets or advertisement, they don't go just by their own recall, which we are all limited by our own environment. So we are trying to make sure that our internal department, which is also for the purchasing department, our clients, that they also are aware of all the opportunities that can help them reach their mission. Their mission is the entire county and to reach a diverse population.
Any more questions? Do we have
time? For the county. In the past, we've done some work at the county buildings, but there seemed to be a very strong preference for union contractors rather than merit shop contractors. Is that preference for union shop contractors continuing, or is it opening up more to merit shop contractors?
The county has no requirement that a vendor contractor be union. There probably have been maybe an undercurrent, but that is not something that when my department evaluates bids and proposals, that's a consideration. But I have heard that that's an issue, because as was stated by one of the other government entities, when I receive a bid tab sheet and I see 5 or 6 vendors, and I see that, for instance, construction tends to be one of the areas that we do have a lot of SB vendors. So I see a tab sheet with 5 or 6 vendors. I see subcontractors. It's a contract that has a variety. It has asphalt, it has some concrete base, it has some landscaping. So it has a scope of work that has opportunity for a lot of different SBEs. But when I look at the SBE vendor list, I see the same SBE vendors, which is fine for those SBE vendors. They're marketing and doing a great job of getting their business name out there to the prime vendors. But I do somewhat have a concern when I see that there's another company that provides painting, or that there are 4 or 5 other vendors that provide plumbing, and they haven't been given an opportunity, or they're listed on a good faith effort documentation as not responding. And I'll call them and I'll say, well, this prime vendor says that they contacted you, but that you did not respond. And I have heard, as you stated, where a SB vendor has stated, well, I'm not union, so I didn't want to submit. There is no county requirement that prime vendors or subcontractors be union. And that's not part of our evaluation.
Hardy wants to say something on behalf of the city of Cleveland.
I'd like to add a little bit to that too. My father was a steel worker. I'm strongly believe in unions. However, understand that in the state of Ohio, it is illegal to force someone to have a union shop. The rules that we all play in the public sector are state of Ohio's prevailing wage rates. If the work you're bidding on is prevailing wage, it's prevailing wage. You can't be forced to be a union shop, nor can a public entity throw out your bid because you're not a union shop. Make sure make sure that of the prevailing wage. Similarly, if it's federal work, it's Davis-Bacon. So be alert to that, because those two processes, they're complaint driven. That means if the prime, or a sub is not paying prevailing wage in a prevailing wage job, or not paying Davis-Bacon, and somebody picks up the phone and complains, it will be investigated. A person who often picks up that phone is a union rep who's not happy with the fact that you're employing, or you are a subcontractor without a union shop. But let's just be clear about that and understand it. It's difficult. We struggle with it every day. I had something yesterday where we had a complaint where a union is trying to get a sub thrown off a job because they're not union. You can't do that in the state of Ohio. But make sure that the prevailing wage and the Davis-Bacon, whichever one applies, that you're adhering to that. Okay?
Thank you very much. We have a question over here.
Yes. Good morning. My name is Neil. I've been a residential builder and remodeler for over 32 years. I have a clarification question. For the minority-based bidding contracts in the city of Cleveland, does the contractor have to be among the minority, or if he wins the bid, is it okay if they use minority subcontractors once he wins that bid?
That's an area that's often confusing with the city of Cleveland. We have our own certifications, okay? They are as follows. There's Cleveland Small Business Certification. That's available to any business in the city or the county. There is MBE, Minority Business Enterprise Certification, if you qualify as a minority. There is FBE, which is a woman-owned business. There's also a couple new ones under 187A. There's a LPE, a local producer. And then there's also a Sustainable Business Certification. Those of you that are getting into green stuff, you want to pay attention to that. Information on all this is available at our table in the lobby. The city has a 2-part program, okay? At the prime level, if you're submitting the bid and you are the prime, in the document will be listed participation goals. You have to meet them whether or not you're certified. Those participation goals have to do with subcontractor participation. You're going to see them, and they're published in every document. If you can't find them in the document, you call me, because we want to make sure we didn't miss them out. Our program changed a couple years ago because it was determined that it was unconstitutional to have a race or gender-based goal if you couldn't prove by a formal disparity study that there was disparity in the marketplace. Currently, the City of Cleveland only has minority and women-owned business goals on vertical construction. That means if we're not roads, but anything that goes up, right? And those will be 15% minority, 7% women-owned, and then an additional 8% CSP. They may be higher. We make a determination on a project-by-project basis if we can have better goals than that. Okay, so it's a little bit complicated. But however, I often get this question from either a minority or a women-owned prime contractor. Why can't I count myself? You can't. We ask you, just like every other prime contractor, to meet these goals, okay? What you do get if you are certified and you're bidding at the prime level is you get what's called a 5% bid preference. That means that if you're the prime and you're certified as a CSB or an MB or an FB on a vertical construction contract, we're going to take your bid, and for the purpose of comparison, we're going to take off 5% to reach a comparison goal, okay? So you want to be certified with the city for both of those reasons. As a prime, it's going to give you a 5% edge, and that's meant to adjust to level the playing field. You heard me use those terms earlier. Recognizing that the playing field is not level for minorities and women-owned businesses or small businesses of any kind. You have trouble. You can't get bonds as easily. You can't get capital. There are things going on out there.
Thank you.
I don't pretend that there isn't any discrimination except for in vertical construction. It just happens to be the law. So what the city did was we put in the CSB certification because minority businesses and women-owned businesses are most often subsets of that as well. You're here because you're small businesses. You have all the problems of any other small business, plus you have those additional problems that arise with discrimination in the marketplace. Be clear about what you're doing. If you're a prime, understand that if you're a certified prime, you still have that same responsibility to meet a goal. So you're going to want to do the same things that you do as a subcontractor. And if you're a subcontractor, you're going to want to use that as a marketing tool. We do pre-bid and pre-proposal conferences for every project $50,000 or over, some of them even smaller. Go to those events. If it says mandatory and you're going to bid as a prime, you got to go there. Mostly we make them optional, but that's your marketing place. That's where you go and you say to every prime that's in there, I run WOW, this is what I do. This project has this work on it. Let me get you a sub-bid on that, okay?
All these, the certifications will be in the rooms. City of Cleveland will be here to the right in the breakout session. And if you let yourself go by the center of the centerpieces, we'll explain where the different agencies are located. Question?
Hello, we've been in business for almost 7 years now, and we heard the county executive mention that this is an event unlike any before. I have to beg to differ. We've been to many, many, many of these events. So what about this event is going to change anything that's currently going on?
Well, honestly, I've been working in the city and the county for 9 years. I worked my first 4 years in the city and my last 5 years in the county. And up to where I know, we've never had the purchasing departments presenting. So we hope that through this presentation and through the CDs that you have and the other information that you have in your packets, it'll make your life and your business easier. So, and if you have any questions or you need any help, feel free to call me. I am Nancy Mercado. I work for Cuyahoga County. Any more questions?
Yes. Hi, this is a two-part thing. I want to say thank you being registered as an SBE business. It was easy because the calls I made, the people that were behind the phones to lead me through it, it was easy. It was more scary than anything. And the office visits, they did guide me very, very well. And as of payment, somebody had mentioned payment. You fill out the paperwork, And if there is a problem with the paperwork, I discovered they catch it ahead of time. At least in my business, they did catch a mistake I made ahead of time. It was corrected long before payment was due, and it was paid promptly on time. I do have to say thank you for that. My second question is, being registered in Cuyahoga County, should I go on each of these different websites and make sure that I re-register or I am registered? Should I be doing that, or is it an automatic, I will be there and I will be registered?
It is not automatic. I highly recommend anybody who has a business to register first as a vendor with each of these agencies. Registering as a vendor is basically letting them know, I have a business and I want to do business with you. That's the basic idea of the vendor registration, letting them have your information, which is what you're there for. After that comes the different programs. The programs is what will give you an extra help if you qualify for them. So I do encourage everybody, please register as a vendor with each of the different agencies individually. You have all the information in those CDs. So we made them to really facilitate anything that you can need. Then go to the different programs. Verify if you have, if you qualify. I also included the list of contact people. You have everything there. Each agency, once they have a bid out, the bid requires their certification. You cannot use the certification of Cuyahoga County with the City of Cleveland. No. Or the state of Ohio with the City of Cleveland. No. The City of Cleveland requires their certificate. The county requires their certificate. Okay? Another question.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Pat Brown. I'm with Eco Sales Production Education Distribution. We have a social enterprise where we bid on contracts for sustainable projects. My question to you is, just as you stated that there's different certifications for each level of government, to just make a suggestion on a more efficient manner of processing everything for everyone, the standard paperwork is requested for each level of government. If there can be like some type of way where, your tax information could be transferred from one organization to another, or your paperwork, your certification, your resumes. Just to have all of this information copied, and then you have to process it with this organization, and then they have particular standards and things, which I understand and respect. However, if the county requests some information that the city doesn't, the county can then contact that contractor and say, well, we request this additional information, instead of having people go through the process over and over and over again. It's like it
right
drags
now,
everything
we
out.
understand that that is a bit of a problem, but if you're an electrician and I go over there and do some kind of electrical work, can that electrician certify the work that I did? No. Each one has their own requirements. That's the same thing that happens with the certifications. Each one has their own requirement. We are trying to gather to make a unified application. And with the unified application, basically, and the county does honor the City of Cleveland's application and other applications. And we do, as you say, we add on the other required documents. But until that unified application goes out, we can't. Now, the unified certification, we can't.
Sorry about that, Nancy. The sewer district accepts the City of Cleveland's, the counties, and NOMBC, and a few other certifications, so that you can just bring your paperwork and your certificate, and it's a much shorter process with the sewer district.
We thank you, because at the end of the day, the object is to create jobs. So we want to make sure that our contractors have an ability to be able to do the process, the paperwork in a more efficient manner, so they can be able to create jobs in our county. Thank you.
And Tri-C as well accepts the different certifications of the organizations. We
Okay.
don't have our own, so we just accept them.
I guess it's me again. The city has its own certifications, and unfortunately, at this point, we accept no one else's, except for DBEs on federal work. I know that there's a effort being made right now among entities in Cuyahoga County to get better at this and to reduce the paperwork. You're right, it's one of those things about the public sector. I met a gentleman from Youngstown at a similar event to this. It was not this event. He said in order for him to have all of his various certifications, he actually had to add a person to his staff. That's not what we're about, but it's one of those unintended consequences. You're right. One of the things about the public sector is as you get to know your customers here is you see that every one of us is trying good-heartedly to do the same thing, but every one of us is doing something slightly different. The reason for that is that we're not free to just do what we want to. If you run a private business, you can run your business. We are subject to council, we are subject to laws, we are subject to regulations, we're subject to all kinds of stuff, and it's not always easy to get to someplace that it would seem obvious to somebody that you should get there. We have all agreed for years. We wish we could make certification simple. We wish we could make it universal, but the county functions under different rules than the city does. The city functions under different laws than the federal government. We're working towards that and try to be patient with us, but again, it's sort of like saying, in some ways, I'm sorry, I wish it was easier, but it's not. And again, the clue to all this is really get to know your customers, get to know the individual quirks of their regulations and stuff so that you don't fall afoul of them accidentally. Okay. We try every way we can to help you out. So.
Okay, we're going to go to our breakout sessions. We want to thank Tri-C for partnering and all the different agencies. As you see in the centerpiece, you have the different government agencies that are in the rooms. Outside, we have different types of, we have Metro Health, Cleveland Clinic, minority businesses. We hope that this activity will help you out. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
City of Cleveland was, we're asking